everybody, Vagran Gaming, and here we're taking another look at Commandos for 5.0. Now this is a little bit late, I apologize. Most of that was because of stuff in real life getting a little bit hectic and it threw things off, and there was a specific request by one of my viewers in the comment section about this, and to that person, I don't have your name in front of me, I apologize to you specifically because this should have been done weeks ago. So, that's the wrong button. Okay, here we go. We got the UI back up. First, we're going to take a look at the utilities, and I'm nicknaming this the Zarya build just because it'll make you really sturdy. Let's see here. Combat proficiencies. Okay, so leave that where it is for now. Okay, the first thing I take, concussive force. Explosive round immobilizes the target for 4 seconds. Direct damage caused after 2 seconds ends the effect. This effect can only occur once every 8 seconds. In addition, concussion charge's knockback effect is stronger and pushes enemies 4 meters further away. So, as far as practicality, I'll open that back up in a second. Picture there's a melee on you. You hit your knockback, it'll push them farther away, and then bam, you pop that out to root them. And that gives you either more room to run away, or you can set a channel of your grav round. That's how I use that in a practical setting, because especially if it's like an assassin or something that has a decent amount of burst, you want to create some distance, mostly to interrupt their incoming damage, and two, to give you some breathing room. Because that's either time for you to throw a couple of heals while they can't move, or if it's I forget the name of the assassins, I think it's for Shadows, it's infiltration. It's basically the direct burst stance that they have. They're probably going to low slash you. So, if you hit the knockback and then you're able to hit that explosive round for the root immediately after, hopefully they'll be rooted. So after they throw that low slash, you're both just going to be kind of sitting there apart from each other, not doing anything. It basically prevents them from stunning you and zipping back in and closing the gap. That's just what works for me in a practical setting. The other one I take, sticky mods. Charge bolts and grav round reduce the movement speed of targets they damage by 40% for 9 seconds. In addition, the slowing effect applied by Coulter residue lasts an additional 3 seconds. So that last part, that doesn't help us. That's for healers. The first part, though, grav round is a major staple of your damage. You're going to be doing a lot of grav rounds. So being able to apply a slow that lasts 9 seconds is something that's very important, because the longer it takes for them to close the gap and get to you, the better off you are. Down to Masterful. Advance the line. Increase the duration of hold the line by 4 seconds. And that's fairly self-explanatory. That's more time that you can move around, create distance, because your speed will be picked up by a little bit, and you won't be able to be rooted in place, or not hit with a knockback. It's extremely handy, especially if you need to kite around a ledge. Charge barrier. Charge bolts, grav round, and medical probe build a charged barrier that reduces damage taken by 1% for 15 seconds, stacks up to 5 times. Now this charge barrier and sticky mods together, that's, if you're not familiar with the term, it's synergy. Basically, you're going to be doing a lot of grav rounds, so you might as well get as much bang for the buck as possible. So whenever you throw a grav round, on one hand here, you're going to slow them, and here, you're going to create that barrier that'll reduce the damage that you take. So, that's some good synergy for you there. Heroic, and this is, I think this is where you start to get the stuff that is why I'm nicknaming it the Zarya build, although people probably have their own nicknames for it by now. Reflexive shield. When you take damage, the active cooldown of reactive shield is reduced by 3 seconds. This effect cannot occur more than once every 1.5 seconds. In addition, when taking damage, you have a 20% chance to emit an energy redoubt, which absorbs a low amount of damage and lasts 6 seconds. This effect cannot occur more than once every 10 seconds. You're going to see in a little bit how important reactive shield is as far as keeping you up in a heavy exchange. On top of that, that 20% chance for that energy redoubt It's one of those things that you might not notice while you're playing, but it's a big help. That helps you stay standing. It's basically like a passive defense that you don't even have to think about. It's just always going. Next, Adrenal Surge. Adrenaline Rush triggers at and can heal you up to 70% of your maximum health. Additionally, Adrenaline Rush lasts 2 seconds longer and heals for twice as much each time it restores health. So basically, Adrenaline Rush normally ticks off a little bit on the slow side, and I don't recall the exact limit. Let's see if we can check that. Let's see, 35% or less. Okay, it heals you up to 35%. So normally, if you're pretty low, you pop Adrenaline Rush, it'll bring you up to about 35% of your health, if I'm reading this right. I'm just kind of skimming it. With this, it'll bring you up to 70%. So when people are really pummeling you, you can pop your Adrenaline Rush, hit your knockback to create some distance, throw an explosive round to try to root them, and that gives you about as good a chance as you're going to get to create some distance and let Adrenaline Rush work its magic, which will happen fairly quickly, and it'll just shoot you back up to 70%. Another tactic, pop hold the line and use, there we go, propulsion round to jump away from them. Like, when you can, you want to create distance. So that's the time to try to balance out your cooldowns depending on what you have. Also diversion, which if you're gunnery, will absorb the force and tech damage for about, I think it's 10 seconds. You get 5 charges that last over 10 seconds. So what I like to do, especially if like a sentinel or an assassin jump on me, I know that the big force or tech damage is coming up soon, or one of the easier ones, if someone throws an explosive plastique on you and you hear it ticking down, as you hear the ticking start to rev up, pop diversion and just ignore the hit. So stuff like that can help keep you standing while you're waiting for your Adrenaline Rush to heal you, because it does take a little bit of time, and it's not a cure-all. They can burst you right through it if there's enough people on you. And I use similar utilities to this when I'm playing Zarya as my healer. Okay, next. Now this is something that I'm experimenting with, and I used Forced March a lot, but this is highlighted, so we'll read this first. One-man army. Hindering a target with Electronet grants one-man army, increasing your alacrity by 15% for 9 seconds. Additionally, Supercharged Cell reduces the cooldown of Adrenaline Rush by 5 seconds. So, again, here's that synergy. Adrenaline Rush is one of the things you can use to help you keep up when there's a lot of damage coming at you. So having the cooldown being reduced, it's nice. It's only 5 seconds, but the way things go in a heavy war zone, that 5 seconds could be really important. So the other thing to keep in mind about this is, you throw your Electronet, your alacrity ticks up, and that means all of your channels, your casts, all that good stuff are going to go by a lot faster, depending on how your gear loadout is. I keep a decent amount of alacrity on this current build of my gear. So I pop that, I'm going to be able to start shelling out damage, and that can be really helpful in finishing off somebody. When it comes time to burst down an enemy healer, especially a Sork healer, which I've kind of made a little bit of a specialty, you get them close to about 30%, you hit that Electronet. If you can hit that before they bubble, there's a good chance you can just start pumping out your damage and take them out. The other option, depending on your playstyle, and I'm just speaking from experience, Forced March allows full auto, Bolt Storm, and Successive Treatment to be activated while moving. So for your Bolt Storm, basically that means you're a lot more mobile. So the opening part of your burst, when you're charging in, you can be mobile through a good section of that, and it doesn't hurt to pop hold the line either, because you can open up with your full auto. Once you're in range, if you just run towards them while tapping your hotkey, once they're in range, Bolt Storm will start, and then after you get your Vortex Bolt and your Grav Round out, it resets, and you've got another Bolt Storm. So that's a good chunk of time that you can just be kiting around and shooting. But again, it's your play style. Both of these are pretty good, but this potentially gives you a bit more synergy between the other utilities. Lastly, and this is where we get that last bit of synergy that we talked about before with our Reflective Shield. Reactive Shield. I'm horrible at skill names, but basically this little guy right here. Normally the cooldown's 1 minute 45 seconds, but with this ability, that's constantly going to get reduced when you're taking damage. And then you've got Trauma Stabilizers. When Reactive Shield is active, you generate a stack of Trauma Stabilizers each time you receive direct damage. Stacks up to 15 times. When reactive shield expires, each stack of trauma stabilizers instantly heals you for 5% of your maximum health. So, you've got a lot of people pumping damage at you, and they're just starting to open up on you. Tag your reactive shield, get that going. The damage will keep coming in, and you'll start to see these stacks build up. Ideally, you want to just stop right there and let whatever damage is coming at you to come at you, and then when your shield expires, you get a nice heal. If your health starts to get really low, like if you're down to getting close to 30% when you hit execute range, and it looks like you don't have enough time, that's when you want to really start moving and shaking and create some distance. Like we talked about before, get your knockback, get your diversion, explosive round to try to root them so they're immobilized. You get your leap back, and you, of course, you've got your hold the line. Whatever you got to do, but you want to create that distance so that you can get those charges. And if you get a lot of damage coming at you, it's not uncommon to get that 15 stacks. And once that 15 stacks of trauma stabilizers is triggered and hits, it'll put you pretty much back to full. So that's the utilities for what I'm calling the Zarya build. And now just real quick to run through a sample of a rotation. And this is mostly because a guildmate asked me to do one again, and I figured it couldn't hurt. So, people have their own ways of doing it. Some people like to charge the proc for Bolt Storm. I personally like to use it twice, just because by my calculations of basic math, and my math isn't that great, it's more damage. But I'm sure there's situations where either or is practical. This is just what I do. You open up with your Vortex Bolt so you get that debuff so that they take more damage from your ranged attacks. Then you go into Bolt Storm. Vortex hit, so we get an instant cast of Grav Round, and that gives us another Bolt Storm. And then we've got the proc here from the PvP gear, so this should be a crit, nice 18k crit, and there you have it. So then we can start over, Vortex, Grav, Bolt Storm. And once we get our 5th charge, there we go, charge barrel, bang, hit your high impact bolt. And the way I like to play it is I use, if all the damage you put out is a sentence, high impact bolts are exclamation point. I think I've said that before. So let me run through that again real quick, because I forgot to put Swtor caster on. Vortex, Bolt Storm, Grav Round, Bolt Storm, Demolition Round, Grav Round. I'm going to pop out. Yeah, we'll do this now. Get your Bolt Storm, one more Grav Round, and then High Impact Bolt. And now because of the way the timing worked, we've got that proc for the crit. Let's just shoot that off. Nice 18k crit. So by using that attack order, it should be pretty rare that you have any trouble maintaining your ammo. Just because of my playstyle, I like throwing my grenades. I should probably stop because it's making me do less damage, but that's just me. I'm always throwing in my sticker grenade, my plasma grenade. I'm always throwing those in, and it messes my damage up probably, but I'm having fun, so I keep doing it. So Gunnery Commando, still a lot of fun. 5.0 has made us very sturdy. So if you're playing a Gunnery Commando, once you get a feel for using your defensive cooldowns and spacing them out, you should have pretty decent survivability. Now, one thing we didn't really talk about as far as defensive cooldowns is echoing deterrence. Engages a defensive response system that absorbs all incoming direct single target damage for the next 6 seconds, reflecting 50% of the absorbed damage back at the attacker, and healing you for 5% of your maximum health each time an attack is absorbed. Can be used while stunned, and that's super helpful. So someone's jumping all over you, you use your stun breaker, they stun you again, there's 2 or 3 people pounding on you, you're gonna die. You pop that, all the single target damage gets bounced right back at them. Now there are ways around this. Say you're a commando and you're fighting another commando, whenever someone throws that up against me, sometimes I'll use my my tech override, my reserve power cell, I'll throw a plasma grenade. Now some of the additional damage, initial damage will get bounced back, but the dot sticks, and then mortar volley. Or, if that's on cooldown, Hail of Bolts. Because it only shoots back single target damage, you want to start switching to your AoEs. And it doesn't last that long. Does it say how long it lasts for? 6 seconds. So, this is a 1.4. That's 2.7. I mean, you're not going to be doing a ton of damage with Hail of Bolts. It's not a hugely powerful ability. Mortar Volley definitely has a decent amount of kick to it. But that's when you want to switch to AoEs. And the thing is, to keep in mind, it's the same thing with Guardians when they use their Reflect ability. You also want to switch to do more AoEs. I personally got into the habit of using my Plasma Grenade once I see a Reflect ability go off. You'll probably wind up doing more damage in the long run if you train yourself to go right for your Mortar Volley, which is something that I'm still kind of working on. So that's just a quick look at the utilities and the rotation for what I'm referring to as the Zarya build. Hopefully that helps you guys, and if you want to see examples of this in action, by all means check out my Commando videos, because I've been pretty much using this build since 5.0 and I've been having a lot of fun with it. So I hope this helps you guys. Hopefully it's still in time to be of some use. And hopefully you guys will have a lot more fun on your commandos and your mercenaries in war zones. Alright guys, I'll catch you all next time. Later.